Should the Las Vegas Raiders trade with their division rival, the Denver Broncos, to go get Frank Clark? That's the topic of discussion here on the Raiders Report. I'm Mitchell Renz, and you are watching the #1 most watched Raiders show in the entire world. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you click that sub button. Make sure you turn on those notifications. So for those that do not know, the latest here around the Denver Broncos is it sounds like they are selling. Field Yates said Frank Clark's days as a Bronco are coming to an end per sources. Be it via trade or release, the team will be moving on from Clark soon. If the second pass rusher Denver will have parted ways with in recent days as the team traded Randy Gregory less than a week ago. Clark agreed to a restructured deal yesterday, giving back $1.686 million in guaranteed salary. So the reason why a lot of Raider fans have asked me, Mitch, could they potentially go out and get Frank Clark, is because if you remember, we talked about this earlier in the week, but Diana Rossini had this to say about the Raiders and their potential involvement in some trade rumors. The Raiders have been busy making calls around the league, looking for a pass rusher since releasing Chandler Jones. They are looking for a player-for-player swap and may not want to give up too much capital. Now, here's the thing. If the Raiders end up trading for Frank Clark, if the Raiders end up making any move whatsoever, I got you covered. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got those notifications turned on. We go live all the time, but these are the shows that I like to cover, the breaking news ones. If you don't know too much about Frank Clark in terms of this season, hasn't really done all that much, hasn't really had many opportunities to get out onto the field. He's played in 33 overall snaps, according to PFF, 27 pass rush snaps, only 6 against the run. The reason, though, I'm not going to roll my eyes about his production this season is because he's on a bad football team. In Denver, it's clearly not working there right now. I mean, that's as clear as day. According to PFF, Frank Clark this season, in those 33 snaps, he's got an overall grade of 45.7. So he has not had that good of a start. His run defense grade is 60.0 and then a pass rush grade of 50.8. I know some of y'all are probably like, well, Mitch, why would we even want a guy who's not playing that well this season? I'm not going to look at these numbers, and they are not going to dictate whether or not I want Frank Clark or not. To me, you're looking at a 30-year-old dude who can still get after the quarterback, and he's a player to me that, let's face it, he needs to be able to help out this Raiders defense if he does end up deciding to come play here, because you no longer have Chandler Jones. You need to be able to find your Chandler Jones replacement, and if you can't, well, then you're in a little bit of a tricky situation, because as it stands right now, you have Max Crosby, you have Tyree Wilson, Malcolm Kuntz has played pretty solid, but the ability to get after the quarterback is still one that I need more from. And sure, you could maybe add a defensive tackle to help you out with that a little bit, but in today's NFL, when you're going up against the quarterback talent that the Las Vegas Raiders are about to be going up against near the back half of their season, guess what? I would be very intrigued to have a guy like Frank Clark on this team. So let me know. Give me a yes or give me a no. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So yes or no, would you bring Frank Clark to Las Vegas? If he's going for a 6th or a 7th round pick, which I anticipate is what he ends up going for, then yes, you end up making this deal. I get it. Some people might not want to help out your division rival, but I don't look at it as helping out your division rival. I look at it as the Broncos helping out the Raiders because they're in a yard sale right now. Coming up next here on the show, I got a Frank Clark trade idea. And I'll tell you that if I was McDaniels, if I was Ziegler, the deal that I would offer the Denver Broncos for number 55 on their squad. But if you don't know, today's show, huge shout out to our sponsor, Factor. They make unbelievably delicious tasting meals that are super and easy. You can pop them in the microwave, and I'm telling you right now, once you eat them, you're going to be like, I can't believe this tastes this good. If you're too busy this fall to cook, but still want to make sure that you're eating well, with Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and all that chopping, the prepping, and the cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy, then get back to crushing your goals. This October, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/RaidersChat50 and use code RaidersChat50 to get 50% off. That's code RaidersChat50 at factormeals.com/RaidersChat50 to get 50% off. That link's going to be available for you guys down in the comments and in the description of today's show. To give you more context on what exactly I would offer the Denver Broncos, I think you got to look at recency, right? I mean, a lot of times the NFL is a recency type of league. And if I know the San Francisco 49ers were able to get Randy Gregory for a 2024 7th in exchange for a 6th-round pick, if you're the Raiders and you offer the Denver Broncos anything more than a 6th-rounder, you're insane. I get that Randy Gregory has been banged up, but the Broncos gave him a 5-year deal in 2023. Here's the thing. The other reason why I would, with open arms, welcome Frank Clark to this team, he knows the ins and outs of the AFC West, which to me goes a long way. He has history of playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's played short time with the Denver Broncos. But to me, the player that you're trying to go out and get is the guy who in 2022, according to PFF, and 700 snaps essentially, was still able to get after the quarterback, could still provide you some run defense. And on top of that, the most important thing here for the Raiders, he can still get after the quarterback. And you're going to be able to help out Tyree Wilson. You're going to be able to help out Malcolm Kuntz. Because to me, I would love for Malcolm Kuntz to learn next to Frank Clark. I would love for Tyree Wilson to not have to be put on the field because he's clearly not healthy to me. So you look in 2022, 5 sacks. 2021, 4.5 sacks. 2020, 6. 2019, 8. He's not going to put up that type of production anymore. But at this point in this game, this point in this season, I'll take a veteran who might be able to get me 3, 4, 5 sacks this upcoming season. So the trade that I would end up offering the Denver Broncos, it's this. It is a take it or leave it type of deal. And if Denver says, you know what, no, I'm not going to trade him to an interdivision rival, I get it. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I disagree with Denver's mindset to do that. However, though, the Broncos, if they don't get any other offers, because when reports come out that you're either going to trade or release a guy, there's going to be some NFL teams out there that say, you know, I'm not really in a panic mode. There's no reason for me to go out there and offer a big-time deal. For a team like the Raiders, though, I do think that this type of deal does make some sense. So let me know here down in the comments, who wins this deal? Are you guys on board with this or no? Type LV for the Raiders, or I want you to type DEN for the Denver Broncos. Now, obviously, if you were to offer this trade in the offseason, it's an easy win for the Raiders. But you have to consider where the current NFL situation is, and you have to consider what the last deal was there for Randy Gregory. I do think that's a full picture. I'll also say this. I get when a player like Frank Clark, he's a big-name player. He gets people excited. But to me, the Raiders still have to do their homework because, yes, you're getting Frank Clark, but you're also giving your division rival an extra 6th-round pick, a team that wants to do a full rebuild right now. So to me, if I'm the Raiders and you're not able to get a Frank Clark, I also think about in the back of my mind, well, there's some good free agents out there that I would consider. And honestly, I would consider these free agents maybe before I consider going out and trading for a dude like Clark. Because if the Broncos say, no, I'm not trading with the Raiders, not doing it, then I am thinking of 3 free agents right now that I'm actually kind of surprised are still out there and still available at the edge position. The first dude is Melvin Ingram. I would love giggity to get my hands on Melvin Ingram and put him in a silver and black uniform. He has worked with Rob Leonard, the Raiders defensive line coach. He has been on the Los Angeles Chargers. He has been on the Kansas City Chiefs. So a lot of the arguments that I just made for Frank Clark, you can go out and you could sign Melvin Ingram. Another player that has had some experience with Kansas City, Carlos Dunlap. And the last time that we've seen him, guess what? He can still play at a pretty damn good level. So if you don't want to give up the draft capital, I still think that you could go out and add an edge player. Like if the Raiders in 2 weeks from now say, there just wasn't a lot of good players out there, we couldn't pull the trigger, that's cap. That means you're not doing your homework because you had Carlos Dunlap, Melvin Ingram, who I think are the clear top 2 edges, and then you go to Robert Quinn, who, don't get me wrong, was bad last season. But, man, we're talking about just a year and a half removed from a season where he had 18 and a half sacks. Maybe he was just unmotivated to play for the Chicago Bears, the worst team in the NFL last season. Yeah, I know. They played like the Chicago Bears. But to me, Robert Quinn also has those connections with Champ Kelly. So to me, it's an interesting thing. But here's how I'm going to end this show. And what's funny is I had somebody send this to me. It's from 2019. If you want to get the date right there. If not, yeah. So this is a tweet from 2019. I said, if Frank Clark gets traded to the Raiders, I'll drink 55 beers in 5 minutes. And some of the real ones will get this. I did a show before where I drank 6 beers in 6 minutes, and then I did 84 beers for Antonio Brown in 6 minutes, which I literally laughed because I saw it worked for AB. It didn't work for AB. FAB's down in the comments. I don't know if I'll do 55 beers in 5 minutes, but I can promise you this. I will be live on the Raiders Report if they do end up and they decide to go out and trade for Frank Clark.